Hello, it's Sarah with House Copper. Just because I know it seems like a lot of times I don't wear safety equipment, I do, and I felt like maybe I should do a quick little thing on what kind of safety equipment you use when you're working in the shop with metal, whether that's you're doing a lot of, brazing, tinning, working with copper, polishing wheels, removing and stripping metal, any of the processes that I do in the shop come with their own set of different coverings that I use. So I'm just going to go through, especially if you're setting up to do this yourself, the safety equipment that you need. So first and foremost, you need a respirator. You can get them on Amazon. You change out these pads. They usually tell you how many hours of kind of clean air you get with them. Mine get really dirty really quickly, especially with using tin with fluxing and the metal stripping, but oh, it's so attractive and it gives me such great lines. And then of course for everything, pretty much everything, short of when I'm doing really like finishing work or wiring old pots or hand polishing without power tools and stuff like that, everything always, of course, you need these safety goggles. And then I actually really like using leather aprons for everything from polishing to tinning the copper, even when I'm dealing with the metal stripping, and also when I'm doing the cleaning process with any of the acids, which happens before the tinning. I like the leather apron better than cloth, just because it holds up so much better. It still is going to discolor, like the acid usually ends up discoloring the bottom and things like that, but that is by far the sturdiest sturdiest type of material to use. Then whenever I'm doing anything with a soldering iron, whether that's tin or copper, I use the oven mitts, the oven gloves. So these are usually like almost like a kitchen tool. They're called oven gloves, and you can buy them online as well, but it's OVE, oven glove, is what you should go for. And these are great for when you're like holding a piece of cookware, especially smaller reproduction ware stuff where you want to hold something down because you need pressure, but they're not as crazy as and as kind of as tough as welding gloves. So I use welding gloves for any work with whenever I'm tinning or anything like that. That's the only time I really use it, but if you're going to be doing any tinning, you're going to want to get some welding gloves. Also, I use these clearly when we're doing batches of seasoning cast iron skillets over fire, and those get hot. Sometimes these don't even work. And then something that Dan Moore taught me to use when tinning. So you have one hand with your fire safety gloves, so like your welding glove, but the hand that does the tinning, you're going to be sticking that in pots, and you don't necessarily want to touch any of the metal or anything like that, but you need that line of defense. So it's actually just like a cotton, like a white cotton glove. Granted, mine aren't white anymore, but they're you can buy them in bulk in big packs, and you put that on the hand that's going to be in the pot tinning, just to protect your skin, but also to kind of still give you kind of that finesse of movement of your fingers that you need and kind of that touch. I also do use rubber gloves for doing any of the scrubbing and cleaning with all the different acid baths that I do in the prep for tinning. So you're going to want to get yourself a set of rubber gloves, and I, especially anyone with long hair or who doesn't want their hair to get all messed up, you can I use a stocking cap to hide all of my hair from any time that I'm using the buffing wheel to clean and any time I am tinning, because both the fire and the flux and the black crap from the polishing just kind of wreaks havoc, and it holds on. It doesn't wash out really easily. And then of course the very last thing, and I didn't grab it. Goodbye. You're gonna also, especially if you want to kind of keep your face covered, you can get the full shield. Sometimes when you're doing a ton of polishing, this is nice, or you're doing a ton of flux, this is nice. I personally struggle because this gets dirty really quickly, just like your glasses will when you're tinning, and you got to stop and clean it a lot, and it's a big space to clean, and it just starts to but it shows you kind of what's landing on your face, and it's gross and it's nasty and it burns. But it's nice to have this as a backup, but it doesn't like protect your face, and you still would need to wear a respirator, as well as have good ventilation. I always open up the garage doors when I tin so that there's obviously extreme ventilation, but even with this, you're gonna need a breathing apparatus if you're leaning over, any of that. So I think that's my main safety stuff. Clearly it doesn't always work because I ripped off the tip of my finger on a metal stripper yesterday. I also do not use gloves when I am polishing because they're too slippery for me, and one catch on that buffing wheel and that piece is going crashing through my wall and it might be irreparable. So I don't. You sometimes see people wearing white gloves for polishing. I've seen a lot with silver polishing, but I don't wear it because I need to have a good grip on that metal, and I need to kind of feel where the wheel is moving, and I can't with slippery gloves. So I don't do that. So I think that's it, but of course add tips, your own tricks, and your own preferences in the comments. It's always great to learn that way and to share, and everyone have a wonderful day.